party. So what are you proposing, Jim? What do you think should be done?
Well, I think that the province has to come up with a plan for the area, identify the needs, and the solutions. Right now, I mean, obviously we need some facilities. It will take time to build them, so as a minimum, the general hospital is a temporary solution. We've heard the cost of renovating would be high, but I had a chance to meet with the residents over there, and they're very happy with the care and the location. They just need a place to speak. If they lose those beds and they bump other people down the waiting list, that's not the answer.
Whose figures are we relying on for the 72 million, and how accurate are they?
Well, I mean, as far as I just came in late, I had another meeting, so I just came in.
But it's because we kicked around for a while. It's been kicked around for maybe a couple of weeks now. But it's going to cost, I don't know where. First people said it's going to be too expensive, then I hear the 72 million. I have no idea where the figure came from.
I think that was just a poor space area times and so much a square foot. It's a rough number. I think the question is it the right building for facilities? Probably not. But unless we could sit down and identify our needs, and identify how we're going to solve them, I think that's the first step.
Are you still calling for them to halt the sale of the hospital until more information
what
comes
I'm saying is that I'd like to see them halted until they come up with, tell us how they're going to solve the issue. It's one of the few, if not the only space we have that will house long-term care beds. I mean, they say that we have an abundance of them there. I don't see that with the waiting list. I think there needs to be some changes in the way they handle it. But it's a solution right now for a problem we have. We ran into, or talked to a lady the other day that's been waiting 2 years to be reconnected with her husband.
Have you had any contact with the minister or the ministry?
We sent off a letter. We've endorsed the county plan in the first place, and we sent off a letter to the minister asking that she delay this and come up with a plan that either highlights that we don't need the hospital or that we do. And the belief is that it's not the long-term solution, but it's the only short-term solution.
Well, when did you send the letter off, and have you received a reply?
Just last week, so I'm sure with everything that's going on, we probably won't hear anything. We'll follow up towards the end of next week.
And you're saying you don't think it's an ideal solution, but it's the best we got right now? Is that the basic?
Well, I'm hearing that it doesn't meet standards for today, so I think that
But they did manage to renovate it and get 32 beds in there for 1 year.
But I think the answer is more than that for the region.
Yeah.
And I think we have to look at a regional solution. It's more than just Cornwall. It's SC&G and Cornwall. I mean, they talked about the large number of beds per capita. That's true. Most of the country requirements are solved in the city, so that's where you'd expect to see beds.
Yeah.
So what's your
population skews the numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you look at the Auditor General's report, he indicates we have the longest wait times in the province. So that's an issue for me. And I think the Auditor General's report is an independent report with the numbers that he's taken from the ministry. And I think that's what we need.
So what's your next step as MPP in this role? Are you going to be part of the process?
Well, we've been lobbying the government to come up with a plan. And we say that along. In many of the ministries, there's no strategic plan. Their ideas are just to dump money at it. But you have to come up with a plan. I mean, I look at the 290 nurses being laid off in Ottawa. To me, if they've endorsed our plan of wage freezes, it wouldn't need to be those layoffs. Because when you look at the numbers, there's about 2.5% of the nurses laid off there. And support staff, and clearly if you're not going to increase the budget and you're going to allow wages to go up, it means layoffs. And those are now people that are looking for jobs that won't be able to find them, will be on the welfare rolls or unemployment insurance rolls. And really, we could have solved that problem. The money could go further, better health care. There's just a lot of reasons to come up with a plan instead of they said they're increasing the health budget by 3.5%, but the hospital budgets are all frozen, so you don't see that. And they receive 6% from the federal government increase, so numbers aren't adding up. We see that they have big savings in the budget because they didn't tell us what the plan was. The budget doesn't meet what their expenditures are.
So if what you're saying and other people are saying is the Cornwall General Hospital isn't the solution, isn't the right site, are people wasting their time here?
Well, I'm saying it may be a temporary solution. Buildings take a long time to build, and if there's a shortage, I don't see another building in the area that would have it.
If, as Madam Perriard said at the council meeting in Cornwall, that it's a done deal and it's just
Well, they have no choice. Their direction is to sell it. I mean, don't blame the hospital here. They're following exactly what the plan is.
But whose plan?
The plan was issued was approved in 1985. Let's say when the funding came in, part of the solution was to move everything over to one larger hospital and close the other one. I mean,
But the hospital seems determined to not even consult with the public. They've refused a public consultation.
But that was a huge consultation that went on for years.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, the funded, the only choice the hospital has would be to keep this building and cut services. Because
But hasn't a lot changed? That was a
money
long.
there. So I mean, somebody's got to pay the insurance, somebody's got to pay the heat, and if Robin's not paying that, what are they going to cut?
But that was, just sorry to interrupt, but that was the late 90s when they had their commission going across the province, restructuring healthcare. A lot has changed since the
That
late
plan
90s.
was approved in 2005, 2006. That's when the funding came through and the plan was adopted. So it's not that long ago.
But when they're looking at the needs at the time, that was the late 90s.
That's why I say I think we need a plan. But don't forget, the hospital plan did not address long-term beds.
And if I remember correctly, at the time when the commission was here, they said that in 40 years' time, and that was back in the late 90s, we're probably going to need a second hospital.
Yeah, but we're talking here about long-term beds. The study at the time didn't talk.
Actually, Jim, we're talking about the hospital as a facility and as a building, and it could be used for more than just long-term beds.
We're looking at the acute care needs are all to be addressed in one building. It was agreed by the community at that time. It was funded at that time, and in that involves getting rid of the Second Street. But all I'm saying is we need a plan of long-term care, and maybe we have enough long-term beds, but what we don't have is enough assisted living beds. And if you haven't got them, then of course the only other option is long-term care.
Because can't the plan change? If the circumstances change, aren't you allowed to change the plan, or shouldn't you be able to change the plan?
Well, that's right. But the province should come up with a plan. I mean, they're the people who fund it. That's what we're calling.
But isn't the province dependent upon the people in the community pressuring them, educating them, and petitioning them?
Yeah.
And you as MPP are our elected official at Queen's Park and with the ministry.
Yeah, and I'm taking that message back. We need more voices than mine to say that. And I think the message has to be: is there a need or a reason for it? And clearly, in my mind, there is a need for long-term care. It's this community that's obviously not looked at. I mean, we don't have to go far. There's a publication just a month and a half old, the Auditor General's report came out in December. It clearly points to this area as being the worst in the province when it comes to waiting for long-term care and being placed. And their answer is, well, it's not being run efficiently. Well, they've had 9 years to run it, to put a plan together and run it efficiently. So if it's not being run efficiently, then
do you have a plan?
It's necessary.
Like if your party had control of the government, do you have a plan?
Well, we talked about the need of getting in, but they've been in there 9 years. It's time to have a plan. I mean, that's their role, the ministry's role. And if they haven't got it, then it's up to the government to stand up and say, we need a plan for this area, as we do all over Ontario. And our message has always been, you can't just throw money at something and hope the problem goes away. There are inefficiencies in any system, and I think we need to look at those, try to weed them out. But we have an urgent need for long-term care, and they're not addressing it with their plan. We don't see a plan.
So how do you go about figuring out what the demand is, and then how you fill that demand?
The CCAC has all the numbers. They know where the aging population, which is going to increase 30% more over the next 2021, and that only gets the baby boomers to 75. So I think that
Because everyone seems to have different numbers and different ideas.
well, and I only go back to the Auditor General.
Yeah.
I see it. I question when I see some of the numbers they come up, but numbers can be chosen to suit a need. But he's an independent body that's commissioned by the government. His graphs and numbers show an issue that's getting worse. The numbers are up 20% since 2005. Another 30% people reaching 75 years of age by 2021, and the problem gets worse.
And there seems to be...
There's an issue. We need an increased need for beds. And even if we had the right number now, we don't have enough for next year because we know what the aging population is.
And there seems to be a lot of anecdotal evidence out there as well. Do you hear much from people talking about the long waits or the long distances to get long-term care?
Well, we see people coming into our office and can't get a spot. And it's a family member, they're at home, they shouldn't be at home, they can't get to the hospital. Everybody's heard of cancer surgeries. That's why the 32 beds were created. And they're taking care of some of those issues. But again, I think without a plan that looks after the whole issue of requirement for long-term care, we have nothing.
Your predecessor is credited with lobbying to get the 32 beds. Would you consider lobbying to keep the 32 beds at this point?
Well, of course, that came up after the 32 beds were created after it left. But I mean, it's an issue where it was critical. I mean, that's what we have the CCAC here for. That's why we have the LINs. They're the people that are supposed to be looking after our needs. From what I heard the other day, they have no say in long-term care beds.
And are the CCAC and the LIN looking after our needs?
Well, their conversation, they have no authority over construction and funding of new beds, strictly through the ministry. So the ministry then should be put forth a plan. What is the plan? I don't think anybody here that I know of has any idea what that plan is, which kind of indicates there is no plan.
But if anecdotally the community feels that those beds served a role and they're needed, surely the MPP lobbying to keep the beds would have some weight.
Well, I hope so, but I mean, we need some. I mean, we've asked for some type of numbers, what we're looking at in the future, what the solution is. We don't see that, and that shouldn't be happening now. It should happen.
Because Chantal Leclerc from the LINs actually showed a graph at the meeting at the Eastern Ontario Health Unit that showed that the levels at the hospital went down during the period that these beds were operational. So surely if we lobbied to keep those beds, one, it would give more of a purpose to keep the hospital, and two, it would serve the community.
Well, I don't know if our goal should be to keep the hospital. The goal should be to serve the needs of the community. And I see the hospital as being key for at least a short term, because I don't know if from what I understand, it's not the solution for the next 30, 40 years. But if we're going to need an increased number of beds where it's a solution right now, it likely means we have to put up another building, likely in, say, maybe in conjunction with the St. Joseph Villa, the staff, let's put it up and get us, find out what our needs are. There's no use to even talking about
Shouldn't we get an independent
unless we know how many we need.
Shouldn't we get an independent appraisal of the building, of the condition of the building and the validity, the lifespan of what's expected left? All we're getting is rhetoric from
if we have no purpose for it, what's the sense? If we have no use for it, I mean, there's no use keeping a building, spending a lot of money on it, if we don't have anything to put in. If you were going to build a brand new hospital, it's probably $72 million. Whenever heard the number.
Not to throw
if you're only going to need 50 beds or 100 beds, you wouldn't build something like that.
Not to throw a curve at you, but they're already using an old hospital on McDonell Avenue. The majority of the hospital is an old hospital.
But they're retrofitting basically the building to meet our current standards. They've enlarged it substantially.
So they're retrofitting it. It's okay to retrofit a McDonell, but it's not okay to retrofit a 2nd Street?
But I think if you go back to 2003, when they did the study and they looked at what the needs were, the whole goal was to look after what the needs were now and in the future for acute care. And that building will look after it with some room for growth. There's room in that building for acute care.
Because they'd be about the same, two buildings would be about the same age, right? Would you say the Do and the general site?
And some of them, they've always renovated over the year, but that's another case of throwing money at both hospitals without a plan. I think now we have a plan for acute care, I think most authorities say you need to keep them separate because of the issues with keeping them together. So, but regardless of what we want to do, we just need to know what the requirements are.
It sounds to me like
long term, and then we need a solution.
it sounds to me like you're saying that the solution isn't here. If we're going to find a solution, it's going to be in Toronto. Is that fair? Or?
Well, I think we have to let the minister know that we're not happy with having no plan in front of us. I think that's the issue. Why keep this building if you don't need it? Why would you keep it?
Because the plan is going to have to be initiated by the province, by the Ministry of Health. I would think Ministry of Health will want to be there. Would that be
According
correct?
to the land and the CCACs, they make all the decisions when it comes to funding a new bed. So obviously that's where the answer is.
Okay, thanks.